of the public wishing to make, provide comments. Ursina Rivera, you please step up, commenting on item number 1.
Good morning, Chairperson and members of NYJA, board members. My name is Ursina Rivera. I was here a couple of months ago. I live at 2430 7th Avenue. That's Drew Hamilton Houses. And I want to thank Stanley Bassano for helping me out with this problem that I have. Sometimes when you have a problem, you call people or personnel to try to help you, but they can't get in contact with the proper people or personnel. And so the problem gets bigger. I had a bad experience and a big problem, which was resolved again because of Stanley Bassanoff. And I'm just here to thank him and Miss Millie Powell, who was also instrumental in helping me. But most of all, who resolved my problem was Miss Kathy Pendleton, who
Kathy?
oh, without her, she just resolved my problem, and she's just great. And I'm glad she's in your staff and all that. And by the way, I know NYJA gets bad publicity and all that, but take it from me, they're doing a very good job, and I'm a witness to that. So thank you very much for listening to me and hearing me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Chair, that concludes the public comments portion, and we'll proceed with the regular calendar. The first order of business is a motion to adopt the minutes
So moved.
of the Wednesday, December 19, 2018 meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. We will now proceed with the chair's remarks.
So I've already been topped by the earlier speaker. We really do have a full agenda today with fundamentally important subjects, a labor agreement, a discussion of, as we've promised that we would do each board meeting on our performance in assuring as best as we can the provision of to our residents, and we will be updating that performance each month, and some very significant items for board review on the agenda, especially in the area of capital expenditures. So I'll forego additional comments and get right into the reports.
The labor report will be first.
Good morning. I'm Carrie Jew, Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer of the New York City Housing Authority. This morning, I'm going to be presenting key points of the Memorandum of Agreement between the Teamsters Local 237 and NYCHA. Oh, wait. Now I have to work this thing, which... Okay, so I just want to summarize some of the key terms. The agreement runs from May 30th, 2018 through December 29th, 2021, and it provides for an agreement to work together to opt into the New York State Paid Family Leave Program on or about June 1st, 2019, collaboration to recruit, retain, and train heating plant technicians, and the alternative work schedule, which provides 7-day coverage for 13 hours per day across all developments. So just to talk about the alternative work schedule a bit, for the first time in about 50 years, we will have caretakers, supervisors of housing caretakers, supervising housing groundskeepers, assistant resident building superintendents, and resident building superintendents working at our developments for 13 hours per day from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days per week. This will be done through 5 staggered shifts. This new way of scheduling will provide our residents with better service and our staff with greater flexibility. Instead of all of our staff working the traditional shift of Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., NYCHA will seek volunteers for assignment into 5 different schedules. Some staff will be able to maintain the traditional schedule of Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., with scheduled weekend overtime, similar to what they are doing now. Or they may choose to work one of the 4 schedules shown here, 2 of which include weekend hours and 2 of which are weekdays only. These 4 schedules provide for a compressed work week of 4 days per week with a 10-hour shift each day. Staff will be assigned to a single shift, so their work week will be the same during every biweekly pay period. This will mean that staff will continue to work the same number of hours per week, 40, but will get 1 extra day off for a total of 3 days off per work week. AWS also includes some incentives. Current staff who volunteer for an AWS shift will receive a one-time taxable bonus of $1,500, and staff working schedules 1 and 2 shown here will be paid a 20% shift differential for all hours worked on weekends. So we are rolling AWS out in an aggressive time frame, and to ensure efficient implementation, we will be rolling it out within 4 phases and expect completion by the end of 2019. The introduction of these alternative work schedules is a fundamental change in the way we staff our developments. It will allow us to better maintain our buildings, be more responsive to residents, and provide flexibility to our staff. I would like to close by acknowledging the extraordinary collaboration of our partner, Teamsters Local 237, and NYCHA leadership, which has made this historic achievement possible. Thank you.
Excuse me,
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
So it says, in 1 and 2, it says every other weekend.
Correct.
All right. So on the other weekend, are they only working to 1:30, their usual shift?
No, no, no. The weekend hours are now until 7 p.m.
Yeah, but
No, so, Victor, I
I'm a
think
little
to answer your
confused.
question, so we don't have staff working every single Saturday and Sunday, right? We alternate the weekends that you have to work. So if you're on a shift, right, that requires you to work a weekend, it's only 2 weekends out of the month, right? And the other shift covers the other 2 weekends. We still have the same coverage, the same 13 hours coverage each day, Saturday and Sunday, but you have different staff working it. Right? What we wanted is to be fair to staff so they wouldn't be stuck on every single weekend schedule.
okay, because it was a little confusing when you say
Yeah,
every
yeah.
other weekend. So I'm figuring, okay, what about the other
Nope.
weekend?
So
They're
there's
not
another
there.
shift that covers the other
Okay.
weekends.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Peter, do you want to add something to the context of this?
Would you like to, sir?
Yes. I'd like
I know
to.
you do.
No, no.
No, I will defer to you. Yeah. I don't know much about this.
So, all right, I'll start by acknowledging right up front the extraordinary effort here. There's an old popular song called "They All Laughed at Christopher Columbus when he said the world was round," long before any of you were born. In effect, our general manager, Kerry, and her team did what has long thought to be impossible and created an approach that engaged our labor partners and achieved an agreement to go forward with different work schedules that better meets the needs of our developments and our residents. It is, don't like to get too hortatory, but in fact, it is an historic agreement that has been decades in the wishing and the making, with enormous potential to improve conditions on a continuous basis. So my thanks to the general manager and his team, to Kerry, and to several people who worked so hard on this, and to our colleagues at Local 2 237. This is really great news for our tenants.
Stan, as a representative of the people, we thank you as well.
Thank you. And just to add real quickly to what the chair said, this was a great collaboration and a real team effort. The one point of this negotiation that I think Kerry left out, which I'd like to just add, is that part of this agreement is also, and in order to achieve this work schedule, we're hiring an additional 210 caretakers. Right? And what we've agreed to contractually with Local 237 is that there would be a preference given to our residents for those 210 positions, right? Which I think just adds more to the story here. So, thank you.
Presentation.
Good morning. I'm Joey Koch, the Senior Vice President of Support Services. Thank you for the opportunity for providing me an opportunity to update you on our heating response. As the chair mentioned, I will be providing these updates every month. First, let me assure you that we have taken several precautions before the severe cold spell that is starting today. The Situation Room at Long Island City has been activated, and there's a lovely photograph of it. And it's staffed with personnel from across operations and support services and the NYCHA's Office of Emergency Management. Our heating department has expanded its shift coverage from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. to what's going to be happening for the next 3 days is 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. We have added additional roving teams across the city. We will have 12 teams that are roving from 4 p.m. to midnight and 7 teams from midnight to 8 a.m. And our customer contact center has increased staff in anticipation of high call volume. Our heating season, to date has been far from perfect, but we have seen a significant drop in outages and an improved response time. During this same period from in October 1st, 2017 through January 23rd, 2018, we had 2,560 outages throughout NYCHA that lasted 47 hours on average. This season, we have had 1,475 outages lasting an average of 11 hours for the same corresponding period of October 1st through January 23rd. This is a decrease of 77% in response time. On Martin Luther King Day last week, we experienced the coldest day in New York in the last 3 years. NYCHA saw 14 outages lasting 9 hours on average. Last year, on January 21st, 2018, it was dramatically warmer, and we experienced 42 outages lasting 23 hours on average. So this year, just to give a comparison of one of our coldest days on record, we did better than last year when we had a very warm day. Despite seeing the coldest temperatures yet this season, we have made improvements due to certain changes that we have made this season. As of December 9th, 2018, we have changed the staffing model throughout the heating department. Staff are now on site at their assigned clusters from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week, including holidays. Previously, our staff was on site from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. We have added roving teams every night from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. And we have a 24-hour heat desk that monitors our incoming work orders and computerized alert system and dispatches staff as needed 24 hours a day. Additionally, on MLK Day, we activated the Situation Room as we are doing today. And doing so allows for essential NYCHA personnel to gather information and coordinate responses accordingly. Some of the departments that are included are, as I mentioned, operations and support services, but specifically heating, maintenance, repair, and skills trade. IT is there, as is operations from the various developments. These changes allowed us to respond to issues and concerns throughout the day, and we anticipate that today, tomorrow, and Friday, with the cold temperatures, we will be able to do the same. Our efforts have shown improvements, but there have still been issues. For instance, at Patterson Houses, where we've had serious problems throughout the years, we were able to install a gas-fired mobile boiler as opposed to the oil mobile that they had previously, and that proved to be very helpful during MLK weekend with maintaining the heat. A new boiler plant is expected to go online next year at Patterson. Another example where we had problems during MLK was Sotomayor Houses, which experienced the longest development-wide outage on Martin Luther King Day of around 7 hours. The development had minimal heat, but if it's freezing outside, obviously to the residents, minimal doesn't mean anything and it doesn't matter. The issue on that day was that the development's heating plant experienced a low pressure situation, which caused inadequate steam distribution throughout the buildings. Outage restoration took some time because the design of the 33-year-old boiler requires a heating mechanic to physically sit under the feed water tank that supplies water to the boiler. Newly designed boiler rooms allow for easier access to as these sorts of problems arise, and we expect to be in construction at Sotomayor on a new plant in the next year. Again, though we have seen improvements, we know it is not enough, and we will continue to review our current processes to find ways that we can better serve residents this heating season and in the future.
In the interest of saving time, there's a couple of things I'd like to ask you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So if I could just add briefly, and again, just want to echo what Joey said. Look, well, we're not taking a victory lap with the checkered flag yet, right? There have been significant improvements in how we have addressed heat and hot water outages, and something that needs to be called to attention. On Martin Luther King Day, I was not only at the Situation Room, but I also went up to Sotomayor, right? And the efforts on the part of the staff there were nothing short of Herculean. Right? And the residents were extremely patient. Right? They were understanding. They were grateful. Right? At least the residents that I spoke with. The one point I want to also add to what Joey said about the Situation Room. So last year there were some criticisms that the agency initiated the Situation Room a little late in the game. Right? So far we've implemented the Situation Room now twice this year. Way in anticipation of a cold spell. We monitor the weather forecast for 10 days. And we even activated the Situation Room where, gratefully, they were wrong on the weather forecast and it was a lot warmer than what they had predicted. But every single department in this agency has contributed to the Situation Room. And the great thing about this room here, and it's hard to really visualize from this picture, but you have representatives from the various departments. They're all in the same room. Right? If you need something from Capital or if you need something from IT, you merely turn around and you've got a representative sitting right there. Right? We have 4 flat screen TVs. Right? One of them that you can see in this picture here has our CHAZ alarms, which are alarms that are signaled when we have problems at some of our heating developments. Right? The screen is large enough for our staff to easily see where there's a red alarm being triggered, right? And we can dispatch staff more quickly to those locations. The other screen is monitoring our dashboard, right, which takes information in from various databases, including CCC, which also did a phenomenal job in stepping up and answering calls on Martin Luther King Day in 7 seconds. Now, I don't know what the final day average was, but when we asked the supervisor at a point in time, on that day, we were answering calls in 7 seconds. Right, on Martin Luther King Day, right, which was absolutely phenomenal. Right, and then we have 2 other screens where we monitor the weather, and we also monitor our outages. Right, so you have access to absolutely every bit of information that you need. Right, and again, I want to thank everyone who was instrumental in setting this up, staffing it. Right, what we also did on Martin Luther King Day, which I think was a little bit different than what we've done in the past, is we proactively opened up warming centers. Right? As opposed to waiting until we actually experienced an outage where we had residents who needed to come to a warm location, we opened them up in advance. We're doing the same thing for this 3-day cold spell. So in addition to running the Situation Room from 8 a.m. to midnight, and that's the hours that the Situation Room will be open, we'll be staffed there 24/7. Right, but we're also opening up warming centers throughout the 5 boroughs. So, Joey, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
We may now proceed with the calendar items 1 through 9.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Lovesey. I'm the Senior Advisor to the Executive Vice President of Capital Projects Division. Deborah Goddard sends her regards. Capital Projects has 9 items on the calendar, and I will be updating the board on the city-funded heating plant program. Item number 1 is the award to Novelis Tile Inc., DBA Novelis Contracting. They were the 3rd lowest bidder at $37,875,000. This is part of the Recovery and Resiliency Program and its restorations at the Metro North Plaza. Scope of the work includes the roof replacement, flood protection elements, underground utility replacement, site lighting. In addition, the contract provides for the installation of a new boiler room that will house 2 new gas-fired boilers and gas generators. The bid variance was 4% lower than the cost estimate at $39,452,497, and there will be 9 Section 3 hires proposed. The VNC has been approved. Item number 2. This is the award to Central Elevator Industries. They were the lowest bidder at $1,029,196. This is for elevator modernization at Boston Road Plaza. The work includes the installation of new gearless machine rooms, controllers, mechanical ventilation, cabin closures, doors, platforms, signaling devices. I do want to let you know that this is a single building. There are 2 elevators, and the work will be scheduled so that there is always an elevator in service. This bid variance was 3.78% higher, and we realized that reviewing the conditions as well as the current market, that we believe that this is acceptable. There will be 1 Section 3 hire associated to this, and the VNC is pending. There will be no award until the VNC is approved.
Steve, a couple of quick questions. How long before this is complete? And what can we look forward to as the end state once this project is done?
The end state is that there would be brand new elevators at Boston Road Plaza. So both elevators will be completely modernized. As soon as this is approved, this is federal dollars, so we would go directly into the contract and then the scheduling of the elevator work, purchasing the materials, and moving forward. Item number 3. This is the award to Richards Plumbing and Heating Company. This is for cooking gas pipe replacement at Jackson Houses. They were the lowest bidder at $3,532,000. This is about 14.08% lower than the cost estimate at $4,110,812. This is a particularly interesting development where gas service comes into one building and then is spread out to the rest of the buildings at Jackson Houses. Risk-wise, if the gas is interrupted at the main building, then the entire development goes down. The new design by Capital Projects will be that there will be service directly to each of the buildings, thus limiting the risk if any time in the future that gas would be disrupted. There are planned 3 Section 3 hires associated to this project.
Question.
Yes.
There was mention of asbestos. And so are we anticipating that you're gonna find the asbestos in the areas where they're modifying the way that each building gets to service? Or are we talking about asbestos at the apartment level?
So both. On almost all of our contracts, we have asbestos abatement work associated to it. This is where, when we're replacing that gas riser that would go vertically through somebody's apartment, in this condition, the floor tiles or the plaster on the ceiling may have asbestos. We take the necessary precautions as per DEP, and those areas are abated, and then we do the work associated to that piping. There would also be asbestos in the cellar areas or the public spaces as well. Same thing. We handle this as required by code in DEP's requirements.
We can assume that there's a plan for communication and engagement of the residents while this work is going on.
Of course. All of our projects, we meet with the tenant associate leaders as well as the residents and inform them of the work and the schedule. And there's also, in terms of gas risers, conversations with each of the residents, because we have to access their apartments in order to do the work. Item number 4. This is the award to Novelist Tile Inc., DBA Novelist Contracting. They were the lowest bidder for $3,850,000. This is associated to the Recovery and Resiliency Program, and this is the general restoration for New Lane area. The work associated to this is soil erosion. I'm not sure if you're familiar with New Lane, but there's a slope back behind the development, and this work would be to stabilize that slope, so that way the soils do not move down into the development and into the water. It's much more of a geoengineering type of project than an architectural project. There was a 19.43% bid variance, which was higher. We believe that's due to the constraints and the access to the site and the type of work, and we believe that the proposal is still acceptable. There will be 2 Section 3 hires, and this is associated to the Recovery and Resiliency FEMA funds. Board item number 5 is the award to JJC Construction Corporation. They were the lowest bidder at $10,671,550. This is an IDIQ, Infinite Delivery, Infinite Quantity contract for various underground piping work in Manhattan development. We would base this on task orders, and this type of work would be for underground fire, underground water distribution. Then the associated work associated to that should be soil excavation, asbestos abatement, asphalt walkways, those sort of things. The Section 3 is based on the task order and the dollar amount, so we would identify Section 3 workers as each task order associated to the overall master IDIQ. This bid variance was 7.15% higher, but we feel that this is a good bid.
So currently, we don't know exactly where it's going to take place, but we do know that it's taking place in Manhattan.
Correct. The bid is about, or the contract is associated to the borough of Manhattan, and then we use this along with the 5-year capital plan and working with operations and maintenance on areas in which we need to do work on these underground piping areas.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is the award, is an IDIQ contract, and it's the award for project management services. There's a PowerPoint slide that I will get to in a second. This would be awarded to 2 firms with a combined not to exceed number of $200 million. The award would go to AECOM USA Inc. and Jacobs Project Management Company. This is really to manage and coordinate all aspects of designated capital improvement projects, such as the construction, administration of the Capital Plus heating plant program. They would be managing the East Harlem rezoning projects, a lot of the mayoral town hall projects. We've been reviewing our overall capital portfolio. The slide that you're seeing is illustrating in the bars the funding amounts that have come to capital since 2014. And as you can see, we were hovering a little bit under 200 million. We are almost up to 400 million, and the number of projects. So we've gone from around 200 and some odd projects almost up to 396 projects, almost 400 projects. This program manager will help us make sure that we can manage these projects and get them completed. We anticipate that there will be a $2 billion capital program over the next 5 years, and it is not feasible or prudent to increase CPD headcount when these increased funds are indeterminate and fluctuating. CPD will assign the work accordingly to those program managers to have accountability, control, and transparency on the projects and to execute them. The contract will not be awarded until the funding is finalized. The board resolution will be updated with this new information. Item number 7. Item number 7 is the award for another IDIQ contract. This is an infinite delivery, infinite quantity contract. This is with a combined cap of $50 million to 9 contractors. The work associated to this is special inspections. We're required to have, thank you, excuse me, infinite delivery, infinite quantity. These firms provide third-party inspections and technical reports required by the Department of Buildings for quality assurance during construction projects. They would perform progress inspections, final inspections, and filing documents associated. This is, again, a combined cap of 50 million, and this is an IDIQ, so we would go out with task orders. Section 3 would be based on the assignment task order coupled with the value of the task order. Item number 8. This is a change order for the Recovery and Resiliency Program. The original contract is for temporary boilers to natural gas conversion. Following Superstorm Sandy, oil burning temporary boilers were installed at impacted sites. Part of the Recovery and Resiliency Program was that these oil temporary boilers would be replaced with natural gas temporary boilers until the new heating plants were designed and built. The benefit of the gas-fired boilers is a more reliable heat and a cleaner fuel for places, specifically in drop temperatures like we've had last year and are coming up. At Cary Gardens, we installed the gas temporary boilers in the same location as the oil boilers. When we did the design, we realized that that was the most optimum place for the new boiler plant. So this is a change order to relocate those temporary boilers in order to build the new permanent heating plant and put permanent heat to this Sandy recovery site. The last item is item number 9. This is another change order. This is a ratification, which means that the work has already been completed. This is for Wrangell Houses. It was a restoration part of the Sandy recovery site. There was an original scope pursuant to Board Resolution 16-928-26, where Dolick was awarded the contract to restore 5 buildings. During the scope of the work, The electrical needed to be upgraded because it was incorrectly designed. To perform the additional construction work and to prevent delay, we moved forward with this work. Law Department and Capital Projects is working with the designer who has indicated that they did have design error for the newly installed switchgear, cable, conduit, and electrical loads. So we will be working with them to recoup this change order funds. The last item I would like to speak with you is about the update on the Capital Plus heating plant program, or the mayoral funds for the $200 million. This was 9 contracts for 11 developments. This was to replace boiler tanks, tank rooms, ventilation, associated plumbing, to modernize the domestic hot water systems, where we were separating domestic hot water from the heating systems, installing new heating controls, and properly sizing the plants. Again, at 9 contracts for 11 developments. We started design in mid-March of 2018, and we completed it in mid-September 2018. We met the mayor's ambitious schedule of 6 months in design, and we had cut that design time back based on some negotiations with other agencies as well as internal changes. The bids were published in September and opened in November. We believe that all of the bids were correct and that we should see approximately 58 new Section 3 hires with these 9 contracts. The contracts are going now to OMB and Comptroller for registration, and the construction of these 9 contracts will be spring 2019, with all construction of these heating plants completed by 2022. This meets the mayor's schedule, and we are on track to deliver that. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning. Carrie Jew again. Now I'm going to present Board Resolution number 10. With this resolution, I am seeking authorization to amend the agreement with Konica Minolta Business Solutions USA by increasing the not-to-exceed amount by $380,943 for a total not-to-exceed amount of $1,269,810. The original agreement was for an initial 42-month term with an 18-month renewal option and an original not-to-exceed amount of $888,867. The original agreement expires on March 27, 2019, and we are requesting to increase the not-to-exceed amount to fund the continued provision of services during the 18-month renewal option term commencing on March 28, 2019, and continuing through September 27, 2020. By way of background, Konica Minolta provides the authority with on-site technical maintenance as needed for 12 high-volume digital printers located at 250 Broadway, 90 Church Street, and 23 Ash Street. These printers are primarily used for Siebel-related correspondence related to the authority's residents and Section 8 landlords. Types of print jobs include annual recertification packets, resident notifications of rent changes, apartment inspections, and reminders to submit annual recertifications, correspondence to Section 8 landlords regarding inspections, rent increases, and changes of address. In 2018, these machines produced nearly 34 million pages, averaging over 2.8 million pages a month, both figures in line with previous year's output. Therefore, I'm requesting your approval to fund the continued provision of services with Konica Minolta for the 18-month renewal period for a total of $380,943.
Good morning, Chair, board members, and GM. Kathy Pennington, EVP for Operations. Resolution 11 is requesting your authorization to award a contract to the sole bidder Elevator Technology Corp. To provide elevator parts that will be used at various developments citywide. This requirement contract provides for the purchase and delivery of elevator parts in accordance with the authority's standards, specifications, and delivery to our elevator department. The amount of the contract is $887,151.12, and there is not a required Section 3 hiring plan. Resolution 12 is requesting your approval to award a requirement contract for exterior lighting repair and replacement, including mechanical time clocks, between the authority and EIA Electric Incorporated. This is a 2-year requirement contract with a 1-year renewal option to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. This will service various developments in the Bronx. The cost is $2,338,573.05. EIA has indicated that they intend to hire 2 residents in the title of unskilled labor. Resolution number 13 is seeking authorization to award a requirement contract for maintenance painting of apartments between the authority and New Apps Management. This is a 2-year requirement contract with a 1-year renewal option to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. This requirement contract provides for maintenance painting of apartments. The scope of work includes furnishing all labor, materials, equipment, insurance, etc., required to perform maintenance painting of apartments. There are a number of contracts being presented today for painting contractors. These contractors are supporting the additional work that is required after we have completed our lead visual inspection. So these contracts will enhance our ability to complete that work along with our in-house painters. This contract is for $1,073,713, and this contract is for walled houses. The Section 3 hiring plan is for 2 residents in the title of apprentice painter.
I just have a quick question. You say this is maintenance painting. What's the difference between maintenance painting and painting? Is there
It's referring to, it could be painting in common areas or apartments. It can be used for both.
Yeah, the visual assessment part over.
There are assessments that are ongoing, still to be completed. The attempts were completed, but there are some units that we're still going back to, and we couldn't get in. Correct. Board Resolution number 14 is seeking authorization to award a requirement contract for maintenance painting of apartments between the authority and Moonlight Painting Company. This is a 2-year requirement contract with a 1-year renewal to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. Again, this requirement contract provides for maintenance painting of apartments, including furnishing all labor, materials, equipment, insurance, etc. Again, this is for grant houses, and this also will support the painting jobs that are required post-inspection of units. The cost of this contract is $1,210,029, and the Section 3 hiring plan is to hire 2 residents in the title of apprentice painter. And resolution number 15 is requesting approval to award an IDIQ contract between the authority and Satker Construction Incorporated, again, for maintenance painting of apartments, interior, exterior spaces. This is a 2-year requirement contract with a 1-year renewal option. These contracts, these IDIQs, this is our fourth contract for these much larger amounts. This is a $5 million contract. So this is our fourth $5 million contract, again, to expand our ability to address the needs for painting. This is a citywide contract, and the Section 3 hiring plan is for one resident in the title of apprentice painter and one resident in the title of painter. And resolution number 16 is a request for approval for a change order to this requirement contract awarded to Richards Plumbing and Heating Company for inspection and testing of fire standpipe and sprinkler systems authorized by an earlier board resolution for an initial 2-year term with a 1-year renewal option to increase the not to exceed amount in order to continue services during the remainder term of this contract. The amount of the not to exceed is $1,238,233.30, and this does not require a Section 3 hiring plan. And resolution 17 and 18 is requesting approval for change orders to 2 requirement contracts for labor and materials for plumbing services, one between RJ Bruno and one between Vatanzas Sons, which did not require initial board authorization for a 2-year term with a 1-year renewal, to increase the not to exceed amount in order to fund continued provision of services during the remainder of this renewal option. This initially provided labor only, but we have also added necessary materials related to the various plumbing repairs. These plumbing contractors are used for some of the larger repair jobs that we encounter, such as gas line repairs, could be sewer or water main breaks. Those kinds of jobs require a large number of plumbing, and it depletes our in-house plumbing staff. So these services are added in to address some of these more complex and larger jobs. The increase to the not to exceed amount is $1 million. The second contractor, the increase to the not to exceed is $1.8 million, and that's for Vatanzas. And resolution 19 is a change order to a job order contract awarded to Penn Enterprises for general mechanical construction, which did not require initial board authorization for a 2-year term with a 1-year renewal, to increase the not to exceed amount in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of this term. The amount is for $1 million. This contractor is used for small boiler replacements, hot water unit replacements, that are required by the heating department. Did I say the not to exceed amount was $2.8 million? Okay,
1 million.
that's what I just said, number 19.
Okay, it's 1 million.
1 million.
Increase.
It says cost estimate 1 million. The new total not to exceed amount is 2.8 million. I didn't know if I read the correct line. Board resolution number 20 is requesting authorization to amend a board resolution which authorized the award of a requirement contract to Metaline Fire Door Company for various types of doors. These are doors for apartments and doors in public spaces throughout the authority. There was an error made on the initial RFQ number and on the term, so this is correcting that. This contract with Medline authorized by an earlier resolution 16928-38 for an initial 3-year term with no renewal option in order to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the 3-year term. So this is correcting and amending that. This is used citywide. The amount is $500,000, and Section 3 is not required. Resolution 21 is requesting authorization to reject all bids for repair, replacement, and relocation of fire standpipe and sprinkler systems. Pursuant to earlier board resolution 181128-24, which was withdrawn by the administering department at the board meeting, recommendation to reject is based on the fact that the sole bidder, JCC Construction Corp., submitted a bid proposal which is 42.34% higher than the authority's cost estimate. Based on the post-bid analysis, we have concluded that the bid is excessive.
Kathy, you may do number 26 if you want, if you would like to.
Okay. Yes, sir. Question?
In the interest of saving time, can I speak to you afterwards regarding 14 and 15?
Absolutely, sir. I've been given a permission to move to number 26. This is a request for approval for the purchase and delivery of pest control supplies in accordance with the authority's standard specifications. Pet Supply shall deliver only during the period of this contract the specified pest control items that are used for bed bugs, rats, and roach baits to authority developments. This contract for supplies is for $2,256,790, and a Section 3 is not required. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Bob Morano, NYCHA's Chief Information Officer. Today we are seeking approval for 2 board items. Item 22 is requesting authorization to enter into an agreement with Motorola Solutions, Inc. to procure, implement, and support NYCHA's Tier 1 and Tier 2 radio infrastructure. This is a 5-year agreement based on a Do-It Master Service Agreement. NYCHA participates in Do-It Master Service Agreements because the city can get volume discounts that we can't get on our own. This agreement has 3 parts. One is to upgrade our Tier 1 radio infrastructure to use Do-It's new interoperable communications network, or ICN. The second part of it is to upgrade our 17-year-old Tier 2 radio infrastructure to a modern system with more redundancy and flexibility. And third, we're going to implement Motorola's Wave system, which allows our Tier 1 radios and Tier 2 radios to communicate with each other and also communicate with smartphones. This is a 5-year agreement that covers all hardware, software, installation, and maintenance. Item 23 is requesting to amend an agreement with Lexmark International for printer support and maintenance on 1,100 Lexmark printers located in both central office and field locations. The 1,100 printers are large multifunctional devices known as MFDs. They can print, scan, copy, and fax. This contract will cover all support and maintenance as well as toner costs for these devices. This amendment will fund a 2-year renewal option on the original agreement.
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, board members. My name is Paulina Butiar from the Director for Preservation within NYCHA's Real Estate Development Department, and I will be covering Board Reso 24 and 25. For item number 24, authorization is requested to amend Board Resolution 18-530-22 to indicate the date of receipt of the letter of support from the New York City Deputy Mayor for Housing and Economic Development as January 23rd, 2019. Board Resolution 18-530-22 previously authorized the authority to submit to HUD Section 18 applications and related materials for disposition of 29 vacant FHA repossessed homes located in Brooklyn and Queens. These 1 to 4 family homes will be conveyed to 2 nonprofit developers, Habitat for Humanity New York City and Restoring Urban Neighborhoods, for demolition and new construction or rehabilitation and affordable resale. The vacant homes are in deteriorating condition, and many have been unoccupied for prolonged periods of time. The decline in condition of the homes has created an adverse effect upon their surrounding communities. Unfortunately, there is currently no funding available to NYCHA to undertake the extensive renovation needed to bring the properties into compliance with city code and effectively maintain them as public housing. Thus, the disposition of these vacant NYCHA properties to not-for-profit development teams with the capacity to renovate and resell or rent them as affordable housing would return them to a useful state and provide affordable homeownership opportunities to current NYCHA residents and other qualified low and moderate income first-time home buyers. Any questions? Great. Item number 25. Authorization is requested to amend Board Resolution 18-927-50 to indicate the date of receipt of the letter of support from the New York City Deputy Mayor for Housing and Economic Development as January 23rd, 2019. Board Resolution 18-927-50 previously authorized the authority to submit documents to HUD to retain 2 unfunded developments, also known as LLC2, in Brooklyn, Independence Towers and Williams Plaza, outside of the public housing program in accordance with 2 CFR 200.311, also known as Part 200, and convert the units from an unfunded status to project-based Section 8 funding. NYCHA is requesting HUD approval of a Part 200 retention action that will remove the developments from NYCHA's public housing program, retain them for continued use as affordable housing, and upon further HUD approval, allow NYCHA to convey the properties via long-term lease to a development partner for capital rehabilitation, ongoing property management, and social services delivery within NYCHA's Permanent Affordability Commitment Together, or PACT initiative. Independence Towers and Williams Plaza are currently under an active RFP. NYCHA anticipates selecting a development partner this spring, and construction closing is targeted for end of 2019. Any questions?
Just a comment.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much for resolving the tenants association.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. Go back to 24.
Yes.
For the low and moderate income first-time home buyers, for the NYCHA residents, what percentage are going to be offered to NYCHA residents?
So we're currently working with the 2 partners to see how much of a preference will be allowed. A minimum of 25% is required, but we're actually looking to see if as much as 100% preference can be offered. So we're right now in the process of working with the development partner and HPD to see what's allowed within the funding parameters that they're using. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Matthew Charney, Director for New Construction and Real Estate Development. I have 2 resolutions this morning. Item 27 is authorization is requested to submit a Section 18 application to HUD, and upon approval to enter into a 99-year ground lease for approximately 10,000 square foot parcel of land located at the southeast corner of Willis Avenue and East 146 in the Bronx. With a total of approximately 90,000 square feet of zoning floor area and easements for the construction of a building with 100 new affordable housing units for households earning below 80% of area median income, with 30 of those units set aside for formerly homeless individuals and 1 superintendent units, also with ground floor retail space. To a joint venture between Limley and Wolf Development Company, a Limerick Community Development, and The Bridge, who will be providing on-site social services. This is associated with Betances 6 development. This is separate and apart from the PACT conversion that was financed at the end of last year. Repairs are underway there for the over 1,000 units at Betances $120 million of renovations are already underway. This is a separate piece of land. It's a one-story retail space. All but one of those spaces have been vacant. The last space ended, their lease ended at the end of last year. So this is just taking that building. It'll be demolished, and a new building will be, new affordable housing building will be built there. This is part of NYCHA's commitment to creating 10,000 units of new affordable housing on NYCHA land. Item 28 is authorization is requested to amend Board Resolution 1810-3117, which was just passed last month, which authorizes the authority to execute a off-site parking restrictive declaration in favor of a housing development on an adjacent property owned by Second and 103 LLC. This is, since that board resolution was passed, the developer of that adjacent property approached us and requested to purchase air rights from NYCHA, from the adjacent building, to use with their new residential development, approximately 12,500 square feet in total. They've offered us a price of $179 per square foot, which is approximately $2.2 million. We're getting an appraisal, and the appraisal will serve as a basis for negotiating a higher price if the price offered is not within a reasonable margin of appraised value. This property was actually, this is no longer public housing. This was disposed of in 2009. It used to be called Metro North Rehab. Now it's known as Hobbs Court Siena. So it's managed by, a new affordable housing was built and the existing building rehabbed in 2009, 2010 by Phipps Housing. So we still own the land underneath. It's leased from NYCHA. So all the proceeds from this, with the parking lot or parking declaration and the air rights, we expect $2.9 to $3.2 million. All the proceeds would be used at nearby NYCHA developments, because Hobbs Court is no longer NYCHA. We wouldn't use them there, but we would use them nearby. Any questions?
Yes.
Sure.
So we now have a number for the air rights.
Yeah.
Right? And so we got, you said 12,500, is it?
Correct.
Okay. Of what? In other words,
yeah.
how much more air rights do we have at that location?
At that location, we have approximately 30,000 in total. So this would be 12,500 of the 30,000. That's as much as the developers, architects think they can use. In reality, we probably won't be able to ever do anything with the remainder, but that's all that they can, all they can use. What's that?
I said that's kind of nice in a way. We should reserve some of the air rights we have. You never know in the future.
You never know.
Okay. The other thing is, within the verbiage, it says that the authorities, including the parking declarations, approximately 2.9 to 3.2. And then it goes on to say that the appraisal of the development rights will be ordered by the authority, with the cost to be reimbursed by the developer. It will serve as a basis, as you said. So what I'm asking is this. So depending upon what comes back with the appraisal, it cannot go below 2.9, but it can surely go up from 3.2. Is that a good assumption?
Right. We think the offer is reasonable. 2.9 would be the minimum based on what they've offered for the zoning floor area at 179 per square foot, plus the parking restriction. They were unsure of the exact amount of parking spaces that they were going to need, which is why the previous board resolution had a range of, I think it was $750,000 to $1 million. So that's the range you see from the 2.9 to 3.2. So 2.9 would be the minimum.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, Kelly McNeil, General Counsel. I'll be presenting items 29, 30, and 31. Items 29 and 30 are to ratify an amendment to the retainer agreement with Aiken Gump, Strauss, Hauer, and Feld, and the amount of $40,000. 30 is to ratify an amendment to the retainer agreement for Cadwalader, Wickersham, and Taft, LLP, And 31 is to amend the retainer agreement for Park Jensen Bennett LLP in connection with legal services for the SDNY investigation. And the amounts for 30 is 34,000, and the amount for 31 is 35,000.
Yeah, I just want to make a statement on the record with regard to item 30. Just to note that I was for many years a partner at the Cadwalader firm. I'm no longer associated with that firm. I left in 2005. I have no business or financial relationship with the firm at all, but I did want to disclose this on the record, just for everyone's knowledge.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And that'll be noted on the record.
Yes, noted. Motion.
I move that the members be authorized to meet in executive session today to discuss the civil investigative demand and litigation of United States versus NYCHA and Baez et al. Versus NYCHA.
Chair, 31 items and one motion are presented for board approval. 31 items and one motion approved. May I have a motion to approve the 31 items and one motion?
Moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Being that all matters before the board
Yeah,
today.
we were confused too.
Sorry.
Being that all matters before the board today have been addressed, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.